The wind moved softly through the trees of a broken alien forest. The ground was cold and dry. Strange purple plants grew around burned rocks. Everything was quiet, except for one sound. A cry out. It was not loud, but it was full of pain. The cry of a baby. Weak, slow, almost fading away. Under the shadow of a broken ship, a female alien named Ayla lay on the ground. Her skin, once golden and glowing, was now pale and cracked. Her arms shook as she held her baby close to her chest. The baby cried again, too weak to scream. Its small hands clutched her worn clothes. Ayla closed her eyes. She had no milk left. For days, she had eaten nothing. She had walked across the wildlands to find safety, but there was none. Her people had left her behind. They said she was a traitor. They said the baby was not worth saving. She had no energy left to fight. In the distance, a human scout named Jack Carter walked through the forest. His boots crunched softly on the dry ground. He wore a simple combat suit with a faded earth badge on the arm. He wasn't supposed to stop. His mission was to find and report enemy tech. Nothing else. But then he heard it. A baby crying. Jack stopped. He looked around. There were no human settlements here. No human families. That sound, it had to be alien. He touched his earpiece. Command, I hear something, he whispered. Ignore it, the voice replied. Stick to the mission. If it's alien, it's not your problem. Jack stood still for a moment. His hand dropped from his ear. He couldn't forget that sound. It reminded him of something. Years ago, during a battle on Earth, he had found a human baby in the ruins. That baby had cried just like this one, back. Then he had walked away, and that baby had died. This time, he couldn't. Jack turned toward the sound and began to walk faster. The cry was getting weaker. He followed the sound through thick alien plants until he found the crashed ship. Smoke rose from the sides, and there, under its wing, he saw her, a female alien, thin, broken, not moving, and a baby crying slowly. Jack stepped closer. He raised his hands. I'm not here to hurt you, he said softly, even though he knew she might not understand. Ayla opened her eyes. They were full of fear. She pulled her baby closer. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Knelt down. He reached into his bag and pulled out a water pouch. He held it out. Ayla didn't move, so Jack placed it on the ground and backed away. She stared at him for a long moment, then reached forward with shaking hands. She drank then. She gave a few drops to her baby. The crying slowed. Jack looked at the child. Its skin was a lighter color than Ayla's. Its eyes barely opened. Kai could see its tiny chest rising and falling, weak to weak. He knew that look. He had seen it before. The baby was starving. He looked up at Ayla. Her arms were bones. She had no milk left. Jack understood without words. He touched his earpiece again. Command, he said. I found a survivor. 2, actually. Species, alien mother and infant. They're dying. Then leave them. Jack's voice became cold. I won't. You'll be disobeying a direct order. Jack looked at the baby again. A tiny face, the quiet breath, the slow cry. I don't care, he whispered. He turned off the comms. Ayla stared at him. She didn't understand his words, but she saw something in his eyes. Something she hadn't seen in a long time. Kindness. Jack reached into his bag. He found an energy bar. It wasn't baby food, but maybe it could help her. He crushed it, mixed it with water, and made a soft paste. Ayla tried to eat. She coughed, then swallowed slowly. Her baby moved a little. Jack sat beside them. He looked around the forest. The shadows were getting longer. Night was coming. We need to move, he said softly. But I'll stay for now. He didn't know why he cared so much. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was just the simple truth. No one else was coming, so he stayed. Jack sat quietly beside the alien mother and her baby. The forest was getting darker. Cold wind blew through the trees. Night was coming fast, and he knew this place wasn't safe after sunset. Strange creatures moved in the shadows, and enemy scouts could appear any time. He looked at the alien baby again. Its eyes were closed now. The crying had stopped, but Jack knew it wasn't a good sign. The baby was too tired to cry. It needed real food, not just water or energy paste, okay? If he didn't find something soon, the baby would die. The mother leaned against a broken piece of the crashed ship. Her eyes were open, but slow. She didn't speak, as she just held the baby close. Her hands shook from weakness. She had no strength left. Jack touched his earpiece and turned the comms back on. Command, this is Carter. I found 2 alien survivors, female, adult, and infant, both weak. They need help. A cold voice replied. You were told to continue your mission. This is not part of it. Jack tried again. They'll die out here. That's not your concern, the voice said. They're not human. Jack stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said, understood, and turned to comms. Off again. But in his heart, he didn't agree. He stood up and looked around. He had a small survival pack, but it didn't have baby food. He had to think fast. He pulled out a heating blanket and wrapped it around the mother and baby. Then he placed small heat packs under the blanket to keep them warm. Ayla watched him. Confused, she didn't understand his language, but she could feel his care. Her eyes began to fill with tears. For the first time in days, someone was trying to help her. Jack sat back down and spoke softly, more to himself than to her. I don't even know your name. I don't know what species you are. I can't leave you. I won't make the same mistake again. His mind went back to a memory from Earth, a war zone, a small ruined house, and a baby's cry. He had walked away that day. He had told himself there was nothing he could do. But the memory never left him. It still haunted his dreams. Now, here he was again. Another baby, another chance. Suddenly, he heard a sound in the trees. He raised his weapon. Something was moving nearby. He got up and slowly walked toward the sound. It was a small animal, thin and fast, running through the bushes. Jack relaxed, but it reminded him that this place was full of danger. He had to move them before nightfall. He walked back to Ayla and knelt beside her. We have to go, he said. This place isn't safe. Ayla didn't move. He pointed toward the forest path and then made a walking motion with his fingers. Come, we leave. She understood, just a little. She nodded weakly and tried to stand, but her legs gave out and she fell forward. Jack caught her before she hit the ground. She was too weak to walk. Jack had no choice. He took his pack, placed it on the ground, and made a soft seat. Then, gently, he lifted Ayla onto his back. She held the baby close to her chest with both arms. Jack tightened the straps and began to walk. Each step was slow. The forest was rough. Trees blocked the path, and sharp rocks made it harder. But Jack didn't stop. He kept walking, breathing hard, carrying both lives on his back. Hours passed. He found a small cave behind a waterfall. It was hidden, dry, and safe from the cold wind. He placed Ayla and the baby inside and started a small fire using dry leaves and his fire starter kit. Ayla opened her eyes again. She looked around the cave and then at Jack. She placed her hand on her chest and said one word, Ayla. Jack smiled. Ayla, he repeated. Then he pointed to himself. Jack. She repeated his name, slowly. Jack. The baby made a soft noise, almost like a sigh. Jack looked down. It was still alive, but time was running out. He needed help. Real medical help. But he couldn't call his command again. Not after disobeying orders. If they found him, they might take the alien mother and baby. Or worse. He looked at the fire, then at the two sleeping figures. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a decision. One no one else had made. He had chosen to stay. Chosen to carry them. Chosen to protect life, even if it wasn't human. And in that cave, far away from his team and his orders, Jack Carter became something more than a soldier. He became hope. The small cave behind the waterfall gave Jack and Ayla shelter from the cold wind. The sound of water outside helped cover their voices, and the fire gave them warmth. But nothing could hide the truth. The baby was still hungry. Jack looked at the tiny child wrapped in a silver blanket. Its eyes opened now and then, but it was too weak to cry. Ayla sat close, her arms wrapped around the baby. Her face showed fear. She had no milk. Her body had no strength left. Jack tried everything he had. He broke energy bars into tiny pieces, mixed them with water, and gave them to Ayla, hoping it would help her produce milk again. But her body was too far gone. She couldn't feed her child. The baby was starving. Jack sat by the fire, hands in his hair, thinking hard. He had no baby formula, no supplies for newborns. Back on Earth, this would be easy. But here, he was alone, and the child was alien. Still, a baby was a baby. He opened his survival pack again, checking every item. Protein powder, vitamins, water filters, heating gel, and nutrient gels for emergency meals. His eyes stopped on one thing, a pouch of high-nutrition protein shake powder. Maybe, he whispered. Jack mixed a small amount of the powder with warm water and shook it in his canteen. Then he looked for something soft to use as a feeding tool. He cut a piece of clean cloth, rolled it tight, and dipped one end into the warm liquid. He handed it to Ayla and showed her how to place it near the baby's mouth. At first, the child didn't move, but then, slowly, the tiny mouth opened, and it began to suck on the wet cloth. Jack leaned forward, eyes wide. The baby was drinking. Ayla gasped, tears filling her eyes. She smiled for the first time since Jack had found her. She looked at Jack and spoke a word in her language, voice soft and shaking. He didn't understand the word, but he felt its meaning. Thank you. Jack stayed close, helping Ayla prepare more of the liquid every hour. He used more clean cloth pieces, warming the drink over the fire before feeding the baby. Slowly, the child grew stronger. Its eyes opened wider. Its hands moved. It even cried again. That sound, once painful, now brought relief. But his one problem was solved. Another grew. Outside, footsteps passed near the cave. Jack quickly put out the fire. He held his breath, holding his weapon tight. Ayla hugged her baby, covering its mouth. Voices spoke in a strange, alien language. Deep, sharp, angry. The enemy was close. Jack peeked out and saw 3 tall, alien soldiers. They wore black armor and carried large weapons. They walked past the waterfall slowly, scanning the area. They were searching for Ayla. Jack stayed silent, heart beating fast. If they found him, he'd have to fight. But he couldn't risk shooting. It would bring more enemies. After a long moment, the soldiers moved on. Their footsteps faded into the distance. Jack waited a full 10 minutes before lighting the fire again. Ayla looked at him, her face pale. She knew how close death had come. She whispered something again. It sounded like a prayer. Jack didn't say anything. He just nodded. That night, Jack wrote in his small notebook, Day 3, alien baby is still alive. Created basic formula using human protein powder. Feeding through soft cloth. No allergic reaction so far. Mother growing stronger. Enemy soldiers pass by, still not safe. I have no orders, but I have purpose. I won't let them die. The next morning, Jack made a small signal tower from scrap metal and wires near the cave. If friendly forces were close, they might pick up the signal. He didn't trust command anymore, but maybe someone out there would help. Ala walked a little now. She held Jack's arm for support. The baby rested against her chest, wrapped in cloth. Its eyes followed the light of the fire. It was surviving. Jack sat beside them, chewing a dry ration. He looked at Ayla. "You love your child more than anything," he said. Ayla nodded, not needing to understand the words. Jack continued. "Most people wouldn't have helped, but I couldn't watch it die. Not again." He paused, remembering the baby he once left behind. "I guess I'm trying to fix a mistake I made long ago." Ala reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool, but her eyes were warm. For a moment, no words were needed. A human, an alien, a starving child, and a choice to care. The forest was quiet again, but Jack knew it was the kind of quiet that warned of danger. 3 days had passed since he found Ala and her baby. The small cave behind the waterfall had become their shelter. With each day, the baby grew a little stronger. Ala could walk on her own now, though slowly. Jack stayed alert every hour, watching the forest and checking his signal beacon. But on the 4th morning, something changed. The birds stopped singing. The wind held its breath. Even the water seemed slower. Jack stepped outside the cave. He crouched behind a tree and scanned the area. Then he saw them 2 black drones flying low, their red lights blinking. Enemy scouts. Jack cursed under his breath. "They found us." He rushed back inside. "We need to go," he said quickly, picking up his gear. Ayla looked confused. Jack pointed outside and made a walking motion with his hands. "Danger. Move." Now Ala understood. She grabbed the baby and wrapped him tight in the blanket. Jack helped her up and handed her a small pack. The 3 of them moved fast through the side exit of the cave, climbing over rocks and pushing through thick leaves. Behind them, the sound of machines grew louder. "They're coming," Jack said to himself. Only an hour later, it began. A loud explosion shook the forest. Smoke filled the air. Trees cracked and fell as 2 alien hunters stepped into the open, wearing full-body black armor. Their helmets had glowing eyes. One held a plasma rifle. The other carried a long blade that hissed with energy. They scanned the ground. One of them found Jack's old fire pit, spoke in his native tongue. "She was here." The human helped. "Her," the other growled. "He broke the law. He dies with them." The hunters moved fast, following broken branches and footprints. Jack led Ala through a dry riverbed. He tried to stay calm, but he knew they were being hunted. He remembered the stories about these soldiers. They were from Ayla's world. Elite warriors trained to kill traitors and any outsider who helped them. Ayla had told him the truth in broken words. The night before, she was a royal nurse, once respected, but when she refused to hand over her newborn to a death order, they marked her a traitor. She escaped, and now they wanted her dead. And a child too. Jack couldn't believe such cruelty. He wouldn't let them win. He spotted a fallen tree that created a tunnel under its roots. "Hide here," he told Ayla. She crawled inside with the baby. Staying quiet, Jack moved away, setting up traps as he went. Tripwires, flash bombs, and even smoke charges made from flare powder. He didn't have much, but he had his training. Then he waited. Minutes later, he heard the heavy footsteps. The hunters appeared through the trees, scanning the area. One of them stepped over a tripwire. Boom. A flash of light exploded in his face. He stumbled back, blinded. The other hunter raised his weapon, but Jack fired first from behind a tree, hitting the rifle and breaking it apart. The fight had begun. Jack ran fast, moving between trees, firing short bursts, tearing short bursts. The hunters roared in anger and returned fire. Red bolts of energy burned through bark and stone. Jack led them away from Ayla's hiding spot. He dove behind a log as a blast exploded near his head. Dirt flew everywhere. He was running out of cover. Then one of the hunters spoke loud in his strange language. "Surrender, human. She will die anyway. You'll protect nothing." Jack gritted his teeth. "You're wrong," he whispered. "I protect hope." He pulled his last smoke charge and threw it. The forest filled with thick white clouds. Jack used the moment to fall back, circling behind the hunters. He jumped down from a tree and tackled one from behind, knocking off the helmet. The alien roared in rage. Jack swung hard with his elbow and ran again. He had no chance in a full fight. He just needed to buy time. Suddenly, another sound echoed through the forest. A scream. Jack froze. It was Ayla. He ran fast, heart pounding. When he reached the hiding place, he found one hunter standing near the roots. Ayla was on the ground, holding the baby close. The hunter raised his glowing blade. Jack screamed, "No!" Before the blade could strike, a beam of light burst from the trees. Boom! The hunter was thrown backward. Jack turned and saw Ayla standing tall, her hands glowing with blue energy. Her body shook, but her eyes burned with fire. She had power. Hidden power that Hunter stood, angry and confused. But Ayla stepped forward, holding the baby in one arm. She spoke in her language, voice strong. The hunter growled, then ran. The other hunter soon followed. Jack stared at her, amazed. "You never told me," he said softly. Ayla looked down at the baby. "You gave him life. I give you mine." And for the first time, Jack realized something bigger was happening. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about change. The forest was quiet again. The silence didn't bring peace. Jack moved quickly through the trees, holding a tired Ayla by the arm. Her baby rested in a wrap across her chest, eyes barely open. The three of them were bruised, dirty, and exhausted. Behind them, the ground still showed burn marks from the battle with the hunters. They had survived. For now, but Jack knew more would come. They had to keep moving. Ayla walked slowly. Her legs shook with each step, and sweat ran down her face. The baby was quiet again, and Jack didn't like that. He remembered what silence meant: hunger, weakness, or worse. They stopped near a broken metal structure deep in the woods. It looked like an old alien tower, long forgotten and covered in vines. "This might give us a place to rest," Jack said. He helped Ayla inside and placed her against the wall. He quickly checked the baby. Its breathing was shallow. "It's too shallow." Jack's chest tightened. He reached into his bag and pulled out the last packet of protein mix. It wasn't made for babies, but it was all he had. He warmed it over a small flame and dipped a clean cloth into it. Ayla tried to feed the baby, but the child barely moved. "Come on, little one," Jack whispered, voice shaking. "Don't stop now. You've come too far." But the baby didn't drink. Ayla looked at Jack with tears in her eyes. She placed the baby in his arms and fell back, covering her face. Jack stared at the child, so small and fragile. He could feel the heat from his tiny body fading. "We're running out of time," he said. He stood up, holding the baby close, and walked outside. The sky was turning gray. A storm was coming. Wind blew through the trees, and rain started to fall. Jack lifted his device and turned it on. "Anyone? This is Jack Carter, former soldier. I am with the female alien and her baby. The child is dying. Please respond." Silence, static, then a weak signal. "This is Echo Station. Identity confirmed. Jack Carter, you're off mission and out of zone. I need help," Jack said. "Medical supplies. Food for a baby. Shelter." "Orders are clear, Jack. You're protecting non-human targets. We can't assist." Jack looked down at the baby. His hand moved slightly, like it was reaching for something it couldn't touch. "I'm not asking anymore," he said, his voice cold. "I'm giving you a warning. If you don't help, I will find my own way. But this child, this innocent life, will not die because you chose silence." More static, then the line went dead. Jack threw the device into the mud. He returned to the tower. Ayla sat still, watching the baby. She was whispering in her language, a prayer or a goodbye. He didn't know. "We have to move," Jack said. "There's one place left, a human outpost, maybe 2 days from here. If we don't try, he won't make it." Ayla looked at him with tired eyes. "Too far," she said slowly. Jack nodded. "Maybe, but we walk anyway." He made a small carrier from cloth and wrapped the baby close to his chest. He gave Ayla his last energy bar and helped her stand. They walked through thick trees, over fallen logs, across rivers. Each hour felt like a lifetime. Ayla fell twice. Carried her both times. His legs hurt, his back burned, but he didn't stop. Not this time. The baby didn't make a sound the whole day. Jack listened close, checking for every breath, every small twitch. That night, they reached a cliff. On the other side was a narrow bridge, old and half broken. But across that bridge was hope. Jack tested the ropes. Okay, they were weak, but maybe strong enough. He turned to Ayla. "I'll go first. Okay. Then I'll come back for you." She nodded slowly. He crossed the bridge with the baby tied close to his chest. The wood creaked. One step broke through, but he caught himself. Finally, he reached the other side. He turned back. "Your turn," I shouted. Ayla stepped onto the bridge, holding the rope tightly. The wind picked up. Rain began to fall harder. Halfway across, a loud crack. The bridge shook. "No!" Jack screamed. The rope snapped on one side. Ayla cried out as the bridge tilted. Jack ran forward and reached out. "Jump!" he yelled. "EY" leaped forward. Jack caught her hand. He pulled with all his strength. She cried in pain, but he didn't let go. Inch by inch, he pulled her up. Together, they rolled onto the wet ground. Breathing hard, Jack looked down at the baby. Still not moving. Still too quiet. "No, no, no," he whispered. He opened the blanket, touched the baby's chest. Then, a small gasp. A breath. The baby was still alive. Jack smiled. Tears mixing with the rain. They had made it. But the real challenge still waited ahead. The sky was dark as night, slowly faded into morning. Rain had stopped, but everything was wet and cold. Jack sat under a large tree, holding the baby close to his chest. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Ayla lay beside him, curled up on the damp grass, her eyes closed. She looked like she was sleeping, but Jack knew better. She was awake. She was just too tired to move. The baby had taken a shallow breath hours ago. Since then, nothing. Jack had tried everything. Warm cloth, soft humming, tapping the small chest gently, but the child remained still. "No, not now," he whispered. "Please." Jack had carried this child through fire, smoke, hunger, and darkness. He had disobeyed orders, fought trained hunters, risked his life, all for a baby that wasn't even human. But to him, it didn't matter. The child was innocent, worth saving. Jack leaned his forehead against the baby's, breathing slowly. "You're stronger than this. Don't give up now. We're almost there." Okay. Suddenly, a soft light shone from the edge of the forest. Jack looked up, confused. Warm blue glow was coming from behind him. He turned. Ayla was standing. Her body glowed, not with fire, but with light, soft and pure. Her hair floated gently, and her eyes were bright with energy. She didn't look weak anymore. She looked powerful, almost otherworldly. Jack stood. Quickly, still holding the baby. What's happening? Ala walked toward him slowly. Her voice was calm. You gave him your strength, your warmth. Now, I give him mine. She placed her hands on the baby's chest. The blue light flowed into the child's body, wrapping around it like a blanket. The light grew brighter, then pulsed once, twice, then faded. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby let out a loud cry, a real, strong cry. Jack gasped, his eyes wide. He's breathing. The child moved in his arms, legs kicking weakly. His eyes opened brighter than before. Ayla fell to her knees. The light left her body, and her face turned pale again. But she smiled. Jack dropped beside her. Are you okay? Ayla nodded slowly. I shared. Life energy. Old gift, not used in many years. Jack looked at the baby, now wrapped safely in the cloth again. You saved him. No, Ayla whispered. You did. You made me believe again. They sat there in silence for a while. The wind became softer. Few rays of golden sunlight broke through the trees. Jack looked at the child again. He's special, isn't he? Ala nodded. He is. Lightborn. A rare child in my world. Born with peace inside. That is why they feared him. Jack frowned. They wanted to destroy him because of that. Yes, Ayla said. My people fight war for centuries. They hate peace. Lightborns bring change. Change is danger to them. Jack held the child tighter. Then we protect him, no matter what. Ayla looked at Jack. Her voice was weak, but full of truth. You are not just soldier. You are protector. You carry fire. But your heart carries light. Jack gave a small smile. Never thought I'd be saving the future of an alien race. But I guess life's full of surprises. Suddenly, a soft beep came from his belt. Jack checked his tracker. The signal beacon he'd fixed days ago was finally working. A nearby human rescue patrol had picked up the signal. Help is coming, Jack said. We just need to make it past the ridge. They packed their few supplies. Jack carried the baby again, while Ayla walked beside him, using a stick for support. Their steps were slow but steady. As they climbed the final hill, Jack looked back one last time at the wild forest. Behind them was pain, danger, and sacrifice. But ahead, a new world at the top of the hill. They saw it, a small outpost shining in the morning light. A mix of humans and peaceful aliens stood near the gates. Medical teams, scouts, children. It wasn't just a military zone. It was a place of hope. Jack waved his hand. The medic saw him and ran forward. More followed. They took the baby gently and rushed to help Ayla. Jack fell to his knees, finally allowing himself to rest. He had made it. They had made it. Later, the baby slept in a warm chamber and Ayla recovered beside him. Jack stood outside the outpost and looked up at the sky. A new sun was rising. For the first time in a long time, he believed in something. Not war, not orders, but life. The sun rose slowly over the quiet land, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. Inside the outpost, everything was peaceful. For the first time in many days, there was no running, no gunfire, and no fear. Jack stood at the window of the medical bay, watching the light touch the treetops far beyond the fence. The same forest where he had fought, bled, and nearly lost hope, now looked calm, almost beautiful. Behind him, Ayla rested on a clean bed. Her body was still weak, but her face was peaceful. She was holding her baby, her child, her reason to survive. The little one slept quietly in her arms, breathing deeply, skin glowing softly in the morning light. Doctors and medics had confirmed it the day before. The child was stable, healthy, and stronger than expected. Jack had done it. He had saved them, but he didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had finally done the right thing. Later that day, word spread through the outpost about Jack's story. People whispered about the human soldier who saved an alien mother and child. Some didn't believe it. Others were amazed. And some, a few brave ones, began to feel something they hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. A council was called. Not a military meeting, but something more. Humans and aliens who had chosen peace gathered in a large open hall made from metal and stone. Jack was invited. So was HFY. She stood beside him, holding her child. Her legs were still weak, so Jack helped her walk forward. Everyone in the hall turned to look at them. Some stared in silence. Some smiled. A few even had tears in their eyes. Ayla stepped forward and spoke slowly in her language. A translator device repeated her words for all to hear. I was left to die, she said, because I refused to give up my child. My people feared his light, but this human, he did not. He gave us food, warmth, safety, and most of all, he gave us a chance. She looked at Jack and continued. He had every reason to walk away, but he stayed, chose life, not just for his kind, but for mine. That is true strength. The room was silent. Then someone stood up, an older human officer. He took off his hat and nodded. We came here for war, he said. But maybe this is how peace begins. One by one, others stood too, human and alien. No weapons, no anger, just quiet respect. Jack didn't know what to say. He just looked down at the baby in Ayla's arms. The child was awake now, eyes wide open, calm and curious. This child had no idea what had happened, no idea how close death had come, or how much one decision had changed the path of many lives. But one day he would. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. The story of Jack, Ayla, and the baby spread to nearby settlements. People, soldiers, doctors, traders, even leaders started to question the old ways. Why were they still fighting? Why were they afraid of peace? What if saving one life could begin something greater? Ayla stayed at the outpost to recover. Jack stayed too, not as a soldier anymore, but as a protector. He helped with rebuilding, trained others in survival, and kept watch over the child he had once fed with scraps and cloth. They gave the baby a name, Liar, which meant light from pain in Ayla's language. E-L-I-R grew fast. He laughed easily. He made even the coldest soldiers smile. Something about him made people feel calm, safe, and hopeful. Jack often sat by the garden with Liar in his lap. He would point to the sky and say, "That's where we came from. But this is where we found something better." Ayla would smile from the doorway, hand on her heart, because deep inside, she knew the truth. This child, once starving, once hunted, had become a symbol, not just for her people, but for both worlds. And so, from the darkest part of the forest, from the edge of war and fear, a new story began, not of weapons and orders, but of a human who made a choice, a mother who never gave up, and a child who changed everything.